You think not caring about sports makes you weird. You think there's something wrong with you because everyone else is losing their minds over a game, and you just feel nothing. Here's the truth. The psychology of people who don't obsess over sports is far more interesting than you think, and it has nothing to do with being boring, cold, or disconnected. In fact, it reveals something powerful about how your brain processes meaning, emotion, and identity. Today, you're about to understand why some minds simply don't attach to the tribal ritual of sports, what that says about how you think, and why you've been misunderstood your entire life. By the end of this, you won't question yourself anymore. You'll understand the code. Part 1. The tribal brain versus the pattern-seeking brain. Let's start with what most people don't realize. Sports aren't just entertainment, they're a neural experience. According to research on tribal love in sports fans, watching your team triggers the brain's reward system, specifically regions like the ventral tegmental area and substantia nigra, the same areas activated by romantic love. When a fan watches their team win, dopamine floods their system. The brain interprets it as personal victory, a survival signal. Your tribe won. You're safe. You belong. But here's where it gets interesting. Not everyone's brain is wired to interpret competitive outcomes as tribal survival. For people who don't care about sports, those neural pathways simply don't activate the same way. It's not apathy, it's a different wiring. Psychologists describe this as low affective intensity. You feel emotions deeply, but selectively. Your brain doesn't assign emotional weight to external competition. You process meaning internally, not through the lens of group identity. While others are screaming at the TV, your mind is asking a quieter question. Why does this matter? And when the answer comes back empty, you disengage. Not because you're broken, because your brain prioritizes depth over spectacle. Part 2. Independence over belonging. Here's something society doesn't talk about. Sports culture is built on belonging. Shared jerseys, shared chants, shared heartbreak. It's a way to feel connected without vulnerability. You don't need to know someone's story to bond over a game. But people who don't care about sports often operate from a different psychological framework. Independent cognitive processing. They don't derive identity from group membership. They build meaning from personal logic, internal values, and self-selected pursuits. Studies show that non-sports fans tend to score higher on traits like introversion and need for cognition, the desire to engage in deep, effortful thinking. They're not antisocial, they're selectively social. They bond over ideas, not outcomes. Over conversations that go somewhere, not noise that fills space. When everyone around them is obsessing over a playoff game, they feel the pressure. The subtle judgment. The unspoken message that says, if you don't care about this, you're missing out. But they're not missing out. They're just not wired to find meaning in watching strangers compete. And that's not a flaw. It's a feature. Part 3. Mental challenge over physical spectacle. Here's a pattern psychologists keep finding. People who don't obsess over sports often have a preference for cognitive engagement over emotional arousal. They're drawn to puzzles, strategy, philosophy, creation, things that require them to think, not just react. Sports offer emotional highs. Victory, defeat, tension, release. But for minds that crave intellectual stimulation, that emotional roller coaster feels empty. It's not challenging, it's predictable. The drama is manufactured. And once you see the script, it stops being compelling. Research on personality and sports engagement shows that individuals with lower interest in sports often have higher openness to experience and a stronger focus on abstract thinking. They don't watch a game and see a narrative, they see a repetitive cycle with arbitrary stakes. Why should I care who wins? What does this teach me? How does this move me forward? And when those questions don't have satisfying answers, they tune out. It's not boredom. It's a refusal to invest in something their brain doesn't value. Part 4. The quiet shame no one talks about. Here's what makes this psychological profile so isolating. Our culture treats sports fandom as default. If you're a man and you don't follow football, you're questioned. If you don't have a team, people assume you're pretending. being difficult, or trying to seem superior. But the truth is far simpler. You just don't feel it. And that disconnect creates a quiet, persistent shame. You learn to fake interest, to nod along, to memorize a few player names so you can survive small talk. But inside, you're wondering what's wrong with you. Why can't I care about this? Why does everyone else get so emotional and I feel nothing? Psychologists call this social desirability pressure, the need to conform to group norms to avoid rejection. And for people who don't care about sports, that pressure is constant. Workplaces bond over games. Families gather around screens. Friend groups plan their weekends around matches. And if you're not into it, you're on the outside. Not because you chose to be, but because your brain simply didn't assign value to the thing everyone else is obsessed with. Part 5. What it really means. So what does it mean to not obsess over sports? It means your brain is wired for solitude over spectacle, for thought over thrill, for meaning over momentum. It means you don't outsource your emotional highs to external outcomes. You don't need a scoreboard to feel alive. You find passion in quieter victories, personal growth, deep conversations, creative breakthroughs, intellectual discovery. It means you're comfortable being misunderstood, because fitting in has never been more important than being true to how your mind actually works. And here's the part that no one tells you. People who don't care about sports aren't missing out on connection. They're just selective about where they find it. They'd rather have one real conversation than 10 surface-level interactions. They'd rather spend their time on something that teaches them, challenges them, transforms them, not something that just distracts them. Final thoughts. If you've spent your life feeling like the odd one out because sports never clicked for you, here's what you need to know. You're not broken. You're not boring. You're not emotionally detached. Your brain just prioritizes meaning differently. And in a world obsessed with external validation, tribal identity, and manufactured drama, that makes you rare. So the next time someone asks what team you support, and you have to explain for the 100th time that you just don't follow sports, remember this. Your indifference isn't a flaw. It's a signal that your mind values depth over distraction, authenticity over performance, and real passion over borrowed excitement. You don't need to apologize for that. You just need to own it. If this resonated with you, drop a comment. Are you someone who never understood the sports obsession? You're not alone.